after I finished the other video, as I was working on it, um, I realized a number of issues and things that um, didn't work quite right in my solution, and I began to think further about how I might, um, come up with a solution that was better. And I think the issue was that I was trying to have sort of a an arm mechanism, but rather than an arm mechanism, uh, when you look at the different machines, when you look at the Enigma, for example, it has this really rather large steampunk style keyboard, right? That you don't see things like that anymore, which is a shame. But you have the top of the key, and then you had a plunger, and conceivably there was a spring at the bottom to push it back up, and a chassis that the keyboard sat in. And then all of this is space that's important, but it couldn't be used for something else. And then I suspect that that part of the Typex solution was very similar. So what I suggest is that you get rid of the patch cables, and you change the keyboard so that every morning when you get the new machine, you have a layout of you simply swap the keys, right? So this is a Typex hack interchangeable keyboard detail. This time I decided to put my name and city on it, right? And then I put this into Satoshi Vision, but I'm not going to explain how to do that because I did before. I'm just going to explain what's different about this. So bear in mind this is a single unit here, and I say analog keyboard, right? So because you were making an electric circuit before when you pushed the key down, but it was digital in that it didn't matter apparently how much energy was going through it. So this is analog, and you have to calibrate it, right? In the morning after you set it up. Back then, the power would have been, something probably not consistent. So you have a dial to calibrate it based on the power that's coming in, right? And then each key would have a different power setting. Um, so again, this is an analog device. I think before I had imagined more of a digital device. This is an analog device, so you still have, this is what I was calling the BBs before, right? These little elements. But now you have these arms coming off of them. So literally so there's going to be one key that's going to have the most power on it. Maybe it's Z or whatever. So when you hit it, you could conceivably, if this is built in correctly, you could shock yourself every time. Shocking yourself the most when you hit the Z key, and least when you hit the A key or something like that. But what you do is you have the key, and this is all one unit, almost like the key of a trumpet or something. And you have your, as you can see, this is S, is what this is, and so the number of these little almost follicles or whatever coming off of it is going to represent that, right? Here's your 4 parts. Remember before I said there were 4 sections, 4 little tubes with 4 little BBs in them, right? So now it is at the base of the keyboard, at the base of each key, you have this, and you have your spring, you have 2 plates, and when you push it down, you have, you're only going to push one key at a time, right? But you have plate 1 has an electric charge on it. Again, it's calibrated, and it comes through to plate 2, and you're using the resistance of the system. You don't have to have resistors in this thing because you're using the natural resistance of the wires and the devices within the electronics, right? It's just when you have a device with resistors and capacitors and diodes on it, there's natural level of resistance in the chassis or whatever of the system itself, which is not as obvious with integrated circuits. But here, so you have the S key, and then you're instructed that S today will be W, so you have a little cap, a nice little cap that you simply put over the S, and then you put this thing into the keypad on the W position, right? You almost, you almost don't even need the cap if people aren't looking at the keyboard. I don't look at the keyboard when I type, but it's easy enough to have a little W cap there. So, or if S is going to be S today, then you simply put the S cap on the S key and put it in the S position, and that's it. So the two plates. So let's see. So we've got the caps here. Keys can be substituted. That's kind of a shot of how it might connect these two together. And then the way I'm calling it analog is then you power this guy, which is a solenoid, right? I suspect that they had figured out basic solenoids at that point. I've built my own solenoids with, the proper sort of wire and a screw. I think that they would have had solenoids back then, and maybe there's 4 solenoids or something like that, right? And then you have different quadrants of the plate that are powered in different ways based on these. I would call them follicles that can simply touch both. You touch the different plates at different times, and this was definitely in the time when people had things that would shock them, right? So you can build this in a way where it won't shock people. But so yeah, analog keyboard, power converted to solenoid, and then between this system and the dials at the top of the Enigma system that, as I said before, seemed to be okay. That all worked fine. All you have to do now is convert this solenoid, using the solenoids to convert it back into a signal that triggers to one of those, which I don't think is a big problem to solve, and I think can be solved in a relatively small footprint. So now you can have a device that could potentially go out into the field, and it's not difficult to interchange the parts, whereas what I imagined before, it would have not been as easy. So this is another detail. I'll put all these ideas together, put this on Satoshi Vision, YouTube, maybe add some, like right down here, I'll add a QR code, right, images, whatnot, and you're done. That's the idea. I think that's the way we can express ideas in the future. And this time, like I said, I put my name on it, but also you can programmatically understand it's either me or Matt that uploaded this, and so I don't think Matt's going to be saying it was him. So there you go. And like I say, down the road, if everybody has their own, essentially, it's a very simple version of some ledger. It doesn't have to be Satoshi Vision. It can be whatever ledger. Then you can trigger this yourself in a way where you've signed it and you have an address that you would have the you would have the private key to, and would be able to walk into a courtroom and show them that you are the owner of the private key. So somebody would have to steal my private key. They would have to pretend that they're me, John Rigler, Grapevine, Texas. You'd have to do a lot, and so I don't feel like I need the patent process. When I was at IBM, at the end I did a defensive disclosure, and one of the things they said to me was, "You realize you could have just put this all out on social media and been done with it." I said, "Well, yeah, but I wanted your input. I wanted your help. I wanted to understand how the system could work using this process. So hope this is informative. Thank you.